Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to our late show tonight. 11 p.m. Pacific time, 2 a.m. East Coast time. Anyway, doing a late show tonight, and it's merely for viewing pleasure later. But anyway, I saw some stories and I did want to cover them. I had a lot of things I had to get done earlier today, so I figured I'd come on late and cover some of these stories for everybody. So got a lot of news to get to. There was actually a lot of news. You couldn't tell from the mainstream media. See, the only thing they were talking about was Trump and impeachment and other wonderful sort of details. But the Trump Biden thing is taking shape, and the media can't figure out why Trump is going after Biden. It's like, well, he's giving this guy publicity. It's like, why would he be doing that? Well, it's really simple. While he's doing it, one, he doesn't think Biden is going to make it through the long haul. He just doesn't think he's going to make it all the way through. I think he thinks he's going to have the same problem Clinton had. Now, Clinton got a pass from the people who were running against her, and most people were afraid to even run against her. In fact, Biden didn't run against her in 2016 for a couple of reasons. One, President Obama refused to endorse him, but also because Clinton had amassed so much money and had locked up so many of the super delegates, which is important in the Democratic primary, that Biden didn't think he had a shot. He didn't think he could win if he went against her. And so she got a pass from the Democratic field on her health issues, like when she took that 30-minute bathroom break during one of the debates with Sanders and the other guy whose name I can't remember who was running against her. But let me tell you something. Biden's not going to get a pass this time. Okay, because if anything, they're going to bring up the fact, hey, look, we all gave Hillary a pass last time. The reason why she didn't campaign so hot and heavy was because she was ill. The reason why, even though the local state party officials in both Wisconsin and Michigan, in Pennsylvania and Ohio, were yelling and screaming to the Clinton campaign to get her out there to those states, specifically Wisconsin and Michigan, and the campaign just told these guys, oh, we got this one locked up as far as Michigan and Wisconsin. We're not worried. We're not going to send her out there. Well, the truth was they couldn't send her out there. Her health would not allow her to do a lot of campaign events. They had to kind of, scatter them around. If you notice, like Trump was doing 2-3 campaign events a day, sometimes 4 different campaign events a day. She was doing one every couple of days, and that was it because of her health. Well, Biden's got the same problem. Biden's already missed 2 major campaign events since this thing started. Already 2. He missed a big one in California, and they just had a big one in Iowa. And he was MIA. And the last one, he gave an excuse that he had to go to his granddaughter's graduation ceremony. Well, I don't buy that. I mean, the reason why he couldn't go is because he's not healthy. And you saw him, those speeches he gave today, they were all, written down, telepromptered, whatever. And then when he got grilled actually on a tough question when a reporter confronted him, out there in looked like an airport or I don't know where the hell he was, outside of the hallway, and he had a bunch of reporters around him, and one of them confronted him, hey, Trump put out this stuff about your health and about your age and about you not doing a lot of events. And he just said, oh, that's Trump. Well, he had no response. And then she grilled him. She goes, well, what do you think? What do you think about that? And she goes, well, no, I want to know what you think. And then he kind of got up in her face. You'll see it on the news. I mean, even MSNBC showed it. He kind of gets up in the reporter's face. He goes, well, how about that? Is that healthy enough for you? And she goes, well, I mean, you're not answering the question. He goes, well, it's self-evident. Well, what's self-evident? These truths are self-evident? The Declaration of Independence? I mean, come on. I mean, there's nothing self-evident about his health issue. And so when he's off even when he's on the teleprompter or looking at a written speech, he's not the same guy. Okay, anybody who's honest with themselves will tell you that. He's not the same guy I remember him to be. I was never a Joe Biden fan, but I did admire the guy. He had a lot of spunk. He was fine with getting up in people's faces. He was fine with telling it the way he believed it to be, sometimes politically expedient, or he was fine telling you what somebody else believed it to be by plagiarizing their own words. And it looked like he just plagiarized Tucker Carlson's friend, the Michael Avenatti, by saying we're going to make America again. And that was a line from Avenatti that he used, and he just stole it from him. He didn't give him any credit or anything, saying, oh, this one guy used this line, I'm going to use it also. He can't help himself. He can't come up with an original idea himself. But the thing with Biden is that Trump's really smart on this one, because by going after Biden and getting all the news coverage, the Biden Trump news coverage, he's drowning out all the other candidates. They can't get any coverage. I mean, Brian Williams was covering this. I mean, he threw a little clip in there about on Buttigieg, but that was about it. Buttigieg gave some big foreign policy speech today. Nobody covered it because they're all covering Joe Biden. So what this is going to do is, and Buttigieg has already made a swipe at Biden by saying, "Hey, this party's got to be willing to take risks, and we shouldn't just be going along with status quo." We shouldn't just be going along with, with like say Biden, and that was a big swipe. Let me just check something real quick, guys. By saying, hey, this party's got. Yeah, I just wanted to hear how it was sounding coming across on YouTube. But yeah, good to go there. So, but anyway, so he took a swipe at Biden by saying, hey, this party's going to be willing to take risks. We shouldn't just play it safe. Direct swipe at Biden. Harris has already gone after Biden a little bit. Booker went after Biden big time on the Hyde Amendment issue. Again, none of these people are, hey, Sean DeGraphic, how you doing? Good seeing you up so late. But good seeing you there. But anyway, so, I wasn't expecting a lot of people to be on tonight because I did start it really late. But hey, that's cool. But yeah, so, none of these people are running for 2028. None of these people are running for even 2024. These people are running to be president now. And one point they did bring up on Brian Williams' show, which was a good point, was that Buttigieg knows if Biden gets a nomination, Buttigieg's not going to get picked for the VP slot. Can't do it. Biden's going to have to go to a person of color or at least a woman. He definitely has to go to the woman. I mean, obviously the obvious choice of woman person of color would be Kamala Harris. But if Elizabeth Warren catches fire and say she comes in second place, he's going to have to pick her because if he doesn't, he's going to piss off the whole. Thanks. He's going to have to piss. He's going to piss off the whole Sanders wing of the party, the Sanders Warren wing of the party. If he skips over, say Warren comes in second in the delegate count, and he skips over her and goes right to Harris. Well, that's not going to play good. Oh, it's going good over here, Shonda. Thanks for asking. Yeah. So, how everything going good over there, young lady? Everything all happening good and stuff. But yeah. So so Warren comes in second. He's gonna have to pick her as a VP. Buttigieg knows he's not getting the VP's pick if Biden gets the nomination. There's no way. Now he'd have a shot. Like say Warren got the pick, or possibly even Harris got the pick. Then he has a shot for VP. So he's got to knock Biden down. So Trump knows that Biden. He's got a full year. And a half of this campaign trail. The convention is going to be in the summertime. He's got over a year of this campaign trail. He doesn't think Biden's going to be able to cut it. And he's putting these questions out about the health. Trust me, when Trump was asking questions about Biden missing these two events and asking about the health, don't tell me Harris, Sanders, Warren, and Buttigieg weren't all going, yeah, because they want to say it too. But, they really can't because it's like, oh, why are you attacking the old man for his health? Why are you being like Trump? Well, trust me, these people are very happy that Trump's bringing up the health issue because let me tell you something. That is a real serious issue. It was serious for Clinton. The media covered for her on that one. Even after she passed out, they only covered it for like a few days, although Trump didn't help because he stepped on the story. I remember that. I remember being really pissed. Hey, Tony, how you doing there? I remember being really pissed when Trump did that. But still, none of these guys are going to give Biden a pass on his health. They're going to say, hey, look, we can't take a chance that, going down the stretch, you're going to wimp out, or pass out or health out and do what Clinton did, namely not go visit the battleground states, not campaign as hard and as heavy as Trump is going to campaign. So it's going to become an issue. Trump's already making it an issue. And he's also forcing the Democrats, the other candidates, by sucking up all the oxygen with the Biden-Trump little duo going on here. He's going to force the Democrats to start getting desperate, to start attacking Biden to get some news coverage. And that's going to further fracture the Democratic Party. So this is a little 3D, 4D, 10D chess, whatever you want to call it, but it's a good move. Now, the last stop he didn't mention Biden's name once. Maybe they were told, okay, pull back a little bit. You kind of went hot and heavy on him, but now pull back. And, plant, what they're saying, plant a seed, add a little water, sit back, watch it grow. So, when people were talking about his health, even on liberal MSNBC, they did bring it up, and they did show that exchange with that reporter. Now, nobody on the panel said, that seemed kind of weird, but it was a female reporter, and it seemed kind of weird, just to let you know. So, but anyway, let's go and get to the story. Let's see what this is from the Washington Times. Trump welcomes Biden as 2020 foe. I like running against people that are weak mentally. Anyway, Dave Boyer, Washington Times. President Trump and Democratic frontrunner Joseph Biden campaigned in Iowa simultaneously Tuesday in the first potential preview of the 2020 election, with the president criticizing Biden as the weakest mentally, and the former VP telling voters that Trump poses an existential threat to the nation. Yeah, I saw parts of his speech. I mean, it just seemed really, really out there. I mean, he really had to really take it to another level. Existential threat, the democracy is going to be over. You know, our Constitution is in crisis. You know, we're going to lose our country. It's like, since when? Since when? Like, what's going to happen? And the guy is following all the rules. I mean, he's challenging the subpoenas in court. They're obeying court orders. They're negotiating with the Democrats on the Hill as far as who can testify, who can't. The whole Don Trump Jr. thing, which everybody thought was going to be a big fiasco, wasn't. It was all negotiated. Barr's been negotiating with Nadler, and that's why he was really pissed off with the latest contempt thing, because it's like, hey, we're negotiating with you guys, we're working with you guys on this stuff, and they have been. They're going through all the motions. They're going to end up in court. Well, that's our democracy, our Republican democracy. We have courts. Article 3, that's what they're there for, settle disputes. Thank you. So, and then as far as the immigration thing, a court tells me he has to stop. He stops. He then appeals it. The other courts say you can go. He says, I want to send people to Mexico, asylum seekers to Mexico to wait there. The U.S. District Court says, no, you can't. He stops that. He then takes it up on appeal. The Ninth Circuit of all the circuits in the world overturn the U.S. District Court, say, okay, you can start again. He starts doing it again. He makes a deal with Mexico to get to even expand it based on the Court of Appeals decision. He's playing by all the rules in the Constitution. Again, we can do with the travel ban. The first travel ban, one of the courts says, nope, that the way it was written sucks. It appears to be, a Muslim ban. Well, I read that draft, the first one that was written. You know what? It did suck. Okay, it was very badly written. And then they wrote it again, and it got a little bit better. And then the third time was a charm. The third time they wrote it, it was perfect. It was great. It said what it had to say. It did what it had to do. And it went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court just said, yeah, it's fine. I mean, literally, they said, yeah, it's fine. You can impose this travel ban. So, I mean, he's doing everything within the framework of our Constitution. So, it looks like people say, oh, he's overrunning the Constitution. No, he's not. He's following the rules of the Constitution, but he does a lot at the same time. So it looks like he's like overrunning stuff. He's not overrunning anything. And when the courts tell him no, he stops. I mean, a real dictator, someone who's a threat to our democracy, someone who's going to overturn the country and, run the Congress and the Senate into prison and the Supreme Court into prison, wouldn't it be stopping every time a court tells him to stop? Okay, he would say, screw you. He would do it. Who was it? Andrew Jackson did. And the Cherokee Indians in Georgia sued the federal government saying, hey, you can't kick us off our land. We have a deal, and you have to honor this treaty you signed with us. And they went to court. And the Supreme Court told Jackson, no, man, you can't kick these people off their land and send them to Oklahoma on what would become the Trail of Tears. And Jackson told the court, well, how big of an army do you have? And he did it anyway. I mean, there you go. That's Jackson, of course, being a Democrat. Like Franklin Roosevelt, also a Democrat, putting people in concentration camps. That's another Democrat. Exactly, Tony. You're right to what I was saying. Exactly. Andrew Jackson, Democrat. Franklin Roosevelt, Democrat. President Obama, Democrat. Same thing. and they didn't follow the rules. They just did what they wanted. The hell with the courts. Roosevelt was going to try to pack the courts when he didn't get what he wanted. Jackson told the court, screw you, go ahead, stop me. Where's your army? You don't have one? Oh, too bad. Might makes right. And Obama, the same thing. He just did what he wanted to do. And it's funny, like everybody says, oh, this is unheard of, this disobeying a subpoena. Well, hey, Effie, how you doing? Jan, what's up? But good seeing you there, Effie. And then it's like when Eric Holder did it to Congress, when he refused to give out information over that whole stupid gun fiasco with the cartels. I forgot what it was called, the stupid operation where they gave guns to the cartels so they could track the guns, and then at least one of the guns was used to murder a Border Patrol agent in an ambush. And Congress wanted answers. He said, screw you, I'm not giving you any. And I think the vote in Congress was totally bipartisan to hold Eric Holder in contempt. That was the Obama administration. Okay? People forget that. So it's not unheard of. It's not unprecedented. It happened. And that court case just ended, in fact, just a few minutes ago. Literally like last year, maybe. It just finally ended. So he's following all the rules. He's doing everything right. So the idea that somehow President Trump's an existential threat, he's not. he's following along the lines of the Constitution. Just that he's a very active president. He's doing a lot of stuff fast, and the Democrats can't keep up with him. They're all fractured. That's one thing that was brought up on Brian Williams' show tonight. It's like when you watch MSNBC, it's good to watch once in a while because you can see what the Democrat position is, and you got to kind of you don't have to really read between the lines too much, but you got to kind of read between the lines a little. And you see the way they were talking about this whole Democratic caucus being split and everything, and why they're letting Nadler do this whole thing with having John Dean testify from, the guy, from he's 80-something years old, who's an attorney for Nixon he testified back in 73. I mean, come on already. And Pelosi's letting that kind of nonsense happen because she doesn't want the impeachment. Like I was telling a friend of mine, you Fast and Furious. Thank you, Miss Effie Loves America. Yes, Fast and Furious. And so, what was I saying? Oh, so I'll tell a friend of mine that Pelosi, she's got that speakership. Well, she just got it in 2018. The last thing she wants to do is lose it, and she could potentially Democrats, even if Trump wins in 2020, Democrats could still hold the House. So the last thing Pelosi wants to do is lose the House of Representatives. Now they could lose the House if they do this impeachment deal. It goes over to the Senate, it fails, which of course it will, because they don't have the votes in the Senate, and they barely have the votes in the House. So it could actually, what it'll do is do the same thing it did for Clinton back in the 90s. It'll jump up his approval rating. And then if he gets a big enough, election turnout in his favor, and it trickles down into the House and Senate seats, the House is liable to flip back, Republican again. And then Nancy Pelosi's out of a job again. Now she's no longer Speaker. Well, that's the last thing she wants, because she knows impeachment's going nowhere. Okay, it's not going to go anywhere. And not to mention the caucus itself is fractured. Why? Because every Democrat in that House, just like every Republican in the House of Representatives, is up for re-election in 2020. And a lot of those Democrats are in Trump districts. Yeah, they won in 2018 because Trump wasn't on the ticket, but Trump's on the ticket now in 2020. And those red districts, a lot of those Democrats won in. I think there's the largest group of new Democrats in there. They're kind of scared, and comes down to a vote on impeachment. They know they can't vote yes. They vote yes, they're going back to their Trump district to try to win re-election. No way in hell, it ain't going to happen. I covered that 2 weeks ago. On a story I did showing some Democrats who'd won in red states and how they managed to do it. It was the one up in Iowa that's been working with both Joni Ernst and Grassley, both the senators from there, and how she's been working with them to show, oh, look, I have a D next to my name, but I work with Republicans. The last thing she's going to do is vote yes on impeachment. And I'm sure she told Pelosi that, hey, look, I'm a Democrat, yeah, but you saw where I won, and if I vote for an impeachment, I'm going to lose. And that's one less vote you have. And Pelosi's like, yeah, you're right. That'll be one less vote I have to maintain, a majority in the House. So the last thing she wants to do is put her own members on the line, and then what that's going to show is going to show that the caucus is split. The Democrats don't have. It's not like all the Democrats voting in favor of impeachment, and it's a split vote. And even if they get over the majority, but it's close, it's going to show the Democrats are in disarray. And then when it gets to the Senate, forget that. Then you're going to have guys like Manchin and a few other Democrats jumping ship also, saying, well, hell, they jump ship in the House. I can jump ship over here in the Senate. And they'll do it. And then it's going to show the Democrats in total disarray. Then you have your Ocasio-Cortez and the far left of the party arguing and screaming at each other, and the candidates on the trail arguing and screaming at each other, blaming who, pointing fingers at who did this, who said this, whose fault is it, the whole 10 yards. It'll be a big disaster, which would be great for the Republicans. So that's the last thing Pelosi wants. So anyway, so let's go on with this story. So this is kind of funny when they do mention the ages. Let's see here. Mr. Trump, who will turn 73 Friday, and Mr. Biden, who's 76, questioned each other's fitness for office as they continue to brush aside the crowded field of mostly younger Democratic rivals who are gaining on the former vice president. Another thing they brought up on MSNBC, they kind of tried to bury it, but one of the reporters there wouldn't let him. When they showed the polling, they showed Biden ahead of Sanders and Warren. They showed Biden at 30%, Sanders at 19%, and Warren at 15%. And Brian Williams was like, oh, well, Biden is doing good. And the one other report, I think it was Holloman. Yeah, Holloman, the guy that was at the Clinton rally on election night who was crying when Clinton lost. But anyway, he goes, yeah, but remember, Biden was up 4 points higher last week than he was this week. So his poll numbers went down, and Sanders' numbers went down, Warren's number went up, and Buttigieg's numbers went up. So, not so good for Biden. Biden had a bad week last week with the changing his mind on the Hyde Amendment, with him stumbling and bumbling around and not being real clear on himself, the whole issue with China and everything else. So he didn't have a good week last week, and now he had a good day today, they say, but I think when this health issue starts kicking in, all it's going to take is for Biden to have one health slip up. And that's why they're not putting him out there a lot, and he's not going to these events because he can only take so much. His health can only take so much. And when he gets caught off a teleprompter and he has to get stuck with reporters answering questions, remember I don't think he's held a press conference yet. He hasn't even held a press conference. I mean, my God, he hasn't answered any questions from any reporters except when he gets stuck in a hallway. But he has not held a formal press conference. All right, so Trump went on to say, I'd rather run against, I think, Biden than anybody. The president told reporters, I think he's the weakest mentally. And I like running against people that are weak mentally. That's really classic. The other ones have much more energy. Pointing to his head, the president said, I think Joe's the weakest up here. Mr. Trump even tagged Biden with perhaps his ultimate insult. He said the former VP reminds me of crooked Hillary Clinton in 2016 because he stands only for his opposition to Mr. Trump. He makes his stand in Iowa once every 2 weeks, and then he mentions my name 74 times in one speech, Trump said in Council Bluffs. That reminds me of crooked Hillary. She did the same thing. Their dueling campaign events in the crucial caucus state were held as a national poll showed Biden leading the president by landslide proportions and 5 other Democratic candidates edging out Mr. Trump. Quinnipiac University survey found Biden was the lead of 53-40 in a hypothetical matchup against the president. Yeah, all those things they go nowhere fast. The same thing happens every year to incumbents. I mean, it's just because remember now the incumbent is not campaigning really against somebody in his own party, so he's not really going toe to toe. Whereas these guys are going toe to toe. They're out there. They haven't really been challenged yet. The press is giving a lot of pass on a lot of stuff like Biden's getting right now. So a lot of these early polls, they even admitted, even Holloman, who covers campaigns really good, said, well, campaigns aren't national referendums. You win them state by state, and that's when he brought up the Iowa thing. Let's see. But the Quinnipiac poll in the Iowa survey showed Biden support slipping against the rest of the field. Sanders of Vermont, Senator Warren of Massachusetts, Mayor Buttigieg of South Bend gained ground on Biden in the Quinnipiac poll in the past 3 weeks. Mr. Sanders at 77, the only candidate older than Biden, was the closest, trailing him by only 11 points. Trump taunted Biden by saying, it looks like his friends from the left are going to overtake him pretty soon. Harrison, Sanders, and Warren are like, yeah, we are. No, I mean, we're not cheering for Trump. Yeah, they are. Trump's doing all their dirty work for him right now. They owe him some favors. Speaking in Ottumwa, Iowa, where I've actually been, Mr. Biden said polls so early in the campaign don't mean a thing. He said he hoped the president's appearance in Iowa will be a clarifying event for voters because of the administration's tariffs that he said are hurting farmers. As Biden spoke, Trump supporter Russell Weeks, 39, circled the parking lot outside the event in his Mercury Zephyr with a poster of Mr. Trump in the passenger seat and dangling a "Don't Tread on Me" flag out his driver's window. The president had his own challenge with polls Tuesday. The Quinnipiac survey showed Trump trailing not just Biden but Sanders, blah, blah, blah. The president, who often knows surveys in 2016 were consistently wrong about his chances of defeating Mrs. Clinton, dismissed the polling. My polling numbers are great, he said. Mr. Trump also pushed back against a New York Times report that he told aides to lie about internal polling. That's what he wanted. He's always bragging about polls, and and then when the polls are against him, he just says they suck, and the people who wrote them suck, and everything sucks. But anyway, he noted that his re-election campaign will hold an official launch rally Tuesday in Orlando. Oh, that'd be cool. Oh, Tony, everybody down in Florida. Trump's going to hold an official re-election campaign launch rally Tuesday in Orlando, Florida. Wow, you guys are lucky. After touring an ethanol plant in Council Bluffs, Iowa, Trump reminded an enthusiastic audience of corn growers that his administration lifted restrictions, blah, blah, blah. All right, let me get to the next story here. Let's see, where are we here? All right. Private border wall group ordered to keep gate open. Okay, now I'm going to do a little background on this real quick here. Okay, so the builders of a private border wall, this is by Victor Morton of the Washington Times. The builders of a private border wall in New Mexico, we've all heard about it, we've all talked about it, have been ordered by an international agency to keep a gate permanently open. According to a report in BuzzFeed, the half-mile wall near Sunland Park cut off official access to a levee and a dam and public access to Monument 1, a series of obelisks marking the U.S.-Mexico border. The We Build the Wall barrier also featured a gate built on about 33 feet of federal property without proper advance permission. And then these people for this International Boundary and Water Commission said this is normally done well in advance of a construction project, which handles waterway issues between the U.S. and Mexico. They think they can build now and ask questions later. That's not how it works. Commission officials propped open the gate in response earlier this week to preserve public access and by extension making the wall easy to breach, which it was. We're going to lock it in an open position until we come to a mutual decision on how this gate is going to operate, Mr. Kuzmashki told BuzzFeed. Brian Colfish, president and founder of We Build the Wall, accused the panel of legal overreach and of complicity in an illegal immigrant invasion of the U.S. The IBWC, International blah, 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 Water Commission, has a bad habit of leaving gates open on our border. Just last week, she left open this gate, largest invasion on record, 1,000 crossed at once. She locked our gate wide open for illegals to invade America, he wrote on Twitter. And he shows a picture of the gate she left open. This one here. That's why they were able to come across so quick. IBWC is a fine example of overreach and growing too big. They are overstepping DHS, national security experts, and undermining Donald Trump. As soon as they locked our gate open, we noticed many other gates around El Paso just opened up. They are planning for mass invasion. In a statement to The Hill, Mr. Colfish predicted that the dispute with the Water Commission is about to be fully resolved in our favor. Now, when I first read it, you say, okay, who is this international commission? This, what is it called? The, let's see, the International Boundary and Water Commission. So I said, well, okay, who are these people? So let's find out. Okay, this is who they are. All right, let me switch over the cameras here. Here we are. Oh, that still didn't work. Okay, let me just drop me out a little bit here. Okay, there we go. All right, International Boundary and Water Commission. Okay, who are they? All right, let's take a look. Okay, International Boundary and Water Commission. Established in 1889, the International Boundary and Water Commission has responsibility for applying the boundary and water treaties between the United States and Mexico and settling differences that may arise in their application. The IBWC is an international body composed of the United States section and the Mexican section, each headed by an engineer commission appointed by his or her respective president, Trump in our case, and then President of Mexico in their case. Each section is administered independently of the other. The United States section of the International Boundary and Water Commission is a federal government agency and is headquartered in El Paso. The IBWC operates under the foreign policy guidance of the Department of State. The Mexican section is under the administrative supervision of the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs and is headquartered in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, like the dog, I guess, Chihuahua, Mexico. The mission of the IBWC is to apply the rights and obligations that the governments of the United States and Mexico assume under boundary and water treaties, and to do so in a way that benefits the social and economic welfare of the people on both sides. As provided for in treaties and agreements, those rights and obligations include distribution between the two countries of the waters of the Rio Grande and the Colorado River, regulation and conservation of the waters of the Rio Grande by joint construction, operation, and maintenance of international reservoirs, regulation of the Colorado River waters allocated to Mexico, protection of lands along the river from floods by levee and floodway projects, solution of border sanitation and other border water quality problems, preservation of the Rio Grande and Colorado River as the international boundary, and demarcation of the land boundary. In addition, cooperative projects undertaken to implement existing treaties and international agreements, the U.S. and Mexico Commission also make recommendations to the respective governments, resolution of new or anticipated boundary or water problems, early detection and evaluation of the problem, blah, blah, blah. All right, so and we'll get to this story in a second here. So basically, it sounds like it's like in 1889, the United States and Mexico said, okay, we have a common border and we got water, Colorado River primarily and the Rio Grande River. So we got to figure out, hey, Mr. Great Douchebag, hey, Candy Diamond Girl, how you guys doing? But yeah, so they said, okay, we got this international boundary between us. It's got water between it, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with the water. So they created this International Border Water Commission. Okay. Now, it sounds like the guy who from We Build the Wall, a couple of things. One, I don't know if they got the right permits ahead of time. I don't know if they even knew these people existed. I don't know. I never heard of them before myself. But then again, I'm not trying to build a wall along the border with Mexico. So maybe if I was, maybe I would have known about these people and made sure I had all my ducks in a row. But with that said, it sounds like the mission of this organization is to maintain access to the waterway. In other words, okay, like how much water does America get to pump out of the Rio Grande for irrigation, for farming, versus how much does Mexico get to pump out? Not my guess. I know those are done by treaty. Obviously, you can't just put a big pipe and suck all the water out and put it to the U.S. with the U.S. farmers, and then leave Mexico with no water, and vice versa. Mexico can just put a big pipe and just suck all the water out and irrigate their own farming lands. So it sounds like their main role of these people is to, one, mark the boundaries, know where the borders are, okay, GPS now, but back in 1889 through surveys and whatever, and to say, okay, you're going to get this much water, we're going to get this much water, and we have this kind of access, you have this kind of access, maybe for cattle to be able to water themselves, who knows, whatever. But it doesn't sound like they necessarily have the authority regarding the gates being open. It's like, okay, the gate has to be open. Why? Okay, why do we need the gate to be open? Okay, how is having a gate interfering with the international border between the United States and Mexico? Well, it's not doing that. How is it interfering with Mexico's access to the water of the Rio Grande? It's not doing that. Okay, so it's not doing anything. Okay, maybe it's disrupting access from our side, but then again, it's on private property. So I don't know if there's an easement. Well, I know there's a 60-foot easement along the border for the federal government, but no one in the federal government is bitching about it. Why? Because who runs the executive branch? President Trump. Okay, so obviously he's not bitching about it. So with that said, let me just jump over back again. Boom. So he's not bitching about it. Trump administration isn't bitching about where this new fence went up. So why is this commission bitching about it? Did the Mexicans file a complaint? Did they say we can't access it? Well, no, of course not. Why? Because the wall, the fence, the wall, whatever, is on the U.S. side. So Mexico didn't file a complaint saying, hey, we can't access the river. Well, no, of course you can. The wall, the fence had nothing to do with that. So it sounds like he's got some leftists there in that organization, kind of deep state kind of people, who are going to use their authority to kind of screw this whole thing until somebody comes down from the administration saying, hey, back off. So it's going to take a few minutes, it sounds like, because these bureaucracies, as we've seen, one, when the president gives an order, even like when he told Brennan, told the CIA, hey, get rid of Brennan's top security clearance, nobody listened to him. They wouldn't obey his order. So same thing going on here. So this sounds like it's going to take a few minutes to get worked out. But the latest story here, let me grab a cigarette. Let's see. Let's see. All right, Trump administration. I'll just look at the chat and see what you guys are saying down there. But hey, Miss Douchebag and Tony, definitely good seeing you two guys again, and definitely seeing Miss Candy Diamond Girl again. Happy as a clam. All right. Oh wait, hold it. I gotta read this one. Douchebag. AOC sets ground rules for flying an airplane. Man, where do you get these things, man? I swear. I know. I could never think of that shit. But anyway, that's pretty good. All right. But anyway, let's get to the story. All right. Trump administration demands $4.5 billion in emergency aid. The border that is breaking point. Yeah. Again, this money, he's just looking to, be able to house these people. And there's a scary picture of acting Department of Homeland Secretary Kevin McClellan. And he just looks scary. They should just put him on the border. Or put a bunch of pictures of him on the border. It scared me away. This is by Stephen Dinan, again, of the Washington Times. Having won a border deal with Mexico, yay, by the way, yay. I covered that on Saturday. Yay. But anyway, having won a border deal with Mexico, the Trump administration turned its attention to a slow-moving Congress on Tuesday, demanding that lawmakers immediately approve a $4.5 billion emergency assistance package to care for the children and families surging at the border. Senate Republicans said they will speed a bill through committee next week and dare Democrats to deny the border crisis and vote against the legislation. President Trump requested the money 6 weeks ago, but has been stuck in a legislative stalemate as Democrats first disputed the nature of the crisis and then balked at the scope of the president's requests. Some daylight poked through Tuesday. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, New York Democrat, said there's a chance for a deal, though the president won't get all the money he wants. Yeah, he's always got to just say, "Oh, you're not going to get everything you want." I mean, I looked at how they were divvying this up, and yeah, the $3.3 billion is totally to Health and Human Services, but the other $1 billion and change, that's totally needed as well. Okay, so the humanitarian aid is a sweet spot, he said, referring to $3.3 billion in money slated to go to the Health and Human Services Department, which is about to run out of money to housing care for unaccompanied migrant children. So at least Schumer is signaling that $3.3 billion, we're okay with that, because that's going to HHS, and they're in charge of housing and caring for primarily for the children. He wasn't sure about the rest of the money. Well, it's only another 1.2. Acting Homeland Security Kevin McClellan said the entire package is essential and suggested that even more may be needed. The border is at its breaking point, he said. He has been sounding an alarm for 6 months, saying the deplorable conditions all sides have now seen at the border: overcrowding, children sleeping underneath a bridge, agents spending as much as half their time babysitting migrants instead of on patrol, are partly the result of a lack of money. But he also said Congress needs to close the loopholes that draw the migrants in to the U.S., for most among those is the 2015 court ruling by a federal district judge in California who set a 20-day limit on holding illegal migrant families. Right. So, I mean, the judges said, well, he didn't say it was unconstitutional. He just said, well, it's a violation of statute. Well, how do you fix that? You write a new statute. Yeah, again, he didn't say, I'm doing this because it's unconstitutional to hold immigrant families longer than 20 days. He said, no, just pursuant to the statutes as they're written, and there was a compromise between the Justice Department at the time, and this was part of the deal they came up with. This was again during the Obama administration. So you just write a new statute, and then the judge's decision is moot. Doesn't mean anything anymore. So he went on to say cases take 40 to 50 days to complete. So the 20-day limit means that families are released into the communities. In one recent test period, 90% of them failed to show up for their court hearings once they were released. 90% failed to show up. Mr. McClellan, who was in Guatemala last month, said the message has been heated. He recalled a conversation with one Guatemalan man whose daughter had left for the U.S. with her child. He said, everybody knows that a child is a passport to migration into the United States, the acting secretary said. Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina Republican and chairman of the Judiciary Committee, has written legislation to close the incentive. His bill would allow families to be held together for up to 100 days, giving enough time to complete most of the cases. It would also create an asylum timeout. Central Americans would be restricted from making asylum claims at the U.S. border, but would be allowed to apply from outside the U.S., giving those with valid cases the chance to make them without having to make the dangerous trek. If you change that, I think 90% of this would stop, Graham said. McClellan puts the success rate at 70 to 90% for that. The hiccup is the Democrats reject Graham's and Mr. McClellan's reasoning. Of course. Senate Minority Whip Richard Durbin of Illinois, the Democrats' point man on immigration, said part of the problem lies in rough conditions in Central America. He says the answer is nation building to produce a better society. Well, again, why is Central America our problem? He goes, part of the problem is the rough conditions in Central America. Okay, agreed. I'll say that's true. But why is that our problem? Why do we have to take all these people in? Who said that? When did that become, the rule of the day, the law of the day? There are bad places all around the world. I mean, God, you can go to any continent in this world and find some bad places. You're going to go fly some planes over to Southeast Asia or to Africa and say, hey, these people have it really bad. We're going to fly into the United States. These people get a better deal because they're in walking distance. Is that the rule on how we treat immigration? If you can walk here, you can get in. But if you live 4,000 miles away, tough shit. Wow, that sounds really moral. What's moral about that? There's nothing moral about that. If you can walk, you can get here. If you can't, you got to cross an ocean. Well, tough. We don't care about you. There's no morality in anything Durbin or the Democrats are doing. And then he said the other problem is Trump himself. Oh, Jesus. Durbin said the travel ban attempts to end the Obama-era deferred action for childhood arrivals, deportation amnesty. Yeah, okay. So, of course, it just has to be because of Trump. Jesus. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Anyway, here's a story from immigrationreform.com. It gets even better. Taxing Americans to give illegal aliens subsidized health care. It's by Spencer Raley of immigrationreform.com. I suggest you subscribe to it. It's a very good website. California is likely bringing back a version of the individual health care mandate in order to help pay for the health care of low-income illegal aliens who are under 26 years old. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom and state Democrats have agreed on a budget that would institute a new tax on those who do not have health insurance in order to help cover the nearly $100 million in additional costs. The budget must still be approved by the state legislature, but it is expected to pass by a wide margin. Yeah, that's been their legislature has been so blue for so long, it doesn't matter. So now, even though Trump gets rid of the individual mandate for the whole country, the Democrats in California are going to reinstitute it for California citizens so they can pay for illegal aliens to have health insurance. Amazing. The Golden State is home to more illegal aliens than any other state. It is estimated that 90,000 of the state's 2.6 million illegal aliens will immediately become eligible to receive taxpayer-subsidized health care once the new budget takes effect. There's already discussion about expanding the provision in the future. Legal immigrants and their U.S.-born children already cost California taxpayers more than $23 billion every year. That amounts to approximately $1,800 per California household annually. $1,800 per California household to pay for illegal immigrants in the state of California. Think about that. Or $150 per month. For the average Californian or anyone for that matter, losing that much of your monthly budget to help subsidize public services for illegal aliens is already a major financial setback. These taxpayers deserve better than to have more piled on to this fiscal burden. There's already an alarming crisis at the southern border. Last month, more than 144,000 migrants were apprehended or deemed inadmissible at the United States southwest border with Mexico, a nearly threefold increase from last year. Just from last year, 3 times as much from last year. Reckless actions by California and other states offering free or subsidized benefits to illegal aliens are only going to make this crisis worse. Yeah, because now you're saying, hey, come, now you can get free stuff. And we're going to tax the U.S. citizens here just to pay for it. Let's see. But, it's just freaking amazing. I mean, it's like, let's just keep opening the door more. We're already losing our country as it is. Let's just keep losing it more. We cannot afford to take care of everybody, okay? We can't just let everybody in the door. We have a way of doing this in a nice, orderly way. We allow 1 million people to emigrate into this country every year legally. We can handle that. We can't handle another 4,500 per day, every day, 365 days a year. We can't handle it. Okay, let's see here. We can cover that. All right, let's get on the abortion issue real quick. Vermont's Republican Governor Phil Scott signs no limits abortion bill into law. There's a picture of Phil Scott. Looks like an idiot. All right. This is by Valerie Richardson of the Washington Times. Vermont Governor Phil Scott signed Monday a sweeping no-limits abortion bill, creating a fundamental right to the procedure as a bulwark against the Supreme Court's 5-4 conservative majority. Mr. Scott, a pro-choice Republican, signed the bill in private, a marked contrast from the splashy celebration that accompanied New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's signing of legislation in January, clearing the path for abortion through 40 weeks gestation. Afterward, Mr. Scott posted a statement saying that the legislation, H. 57, affirms what is already allowable in Vermont, protecting reproductive rights. Reproductive rights. I always get a kick out of that. How's it reproductive rights to kill a baby? It's like, I have a right to, it's not, well, it's like destructive rights. It's not reproductive. Reproductive means you're producing a baby. You're making a baby, okay? And you have a right to make a baby. But if you're killing a baby, there's nothing reproductive about that. That's destructive rights. Okay, so quote unquote, protecting reproductive rights and ensuring those decisions remain between a woman and her health care provider. I know this issue can be polarizing, he says, so I appreciate the respectful tone and civility from all sides throughout this discussion. Yeah, you're killing babies. Planned Parenthood of Northern New England CEO Megan Gallagher said the legislation was needed to protect access to abortion, calling health care. Again, how is this health care? Killing a baby is health care. I mean, it's not like, they're not saying life of the mother, health of the mother. No, it's no limits abortion. Abortion on demand. Nothing to do with health or health care. Healthcare personal, not politics, for patients. Each and every day, we see proof that abortion rights are on the line, and we cannot risk the threats to abortion access that we're anticipating at the U.S. Supreme Court. Meanwhile, Vermont Right to Life Executive Director Mary Beerworth said the governor had endorsed unlimited, unregulated abortion throughout all 9 months, right after the day the child's born, right the moment the child's born, of pregnancy by signing the bill which prevents the state from interfering with or restricting abortion access. With his signature, Governor Scott has rejected any regulation of abortion, abortionists, and abortion clinics, including measures to protect the health and safety of girls and women, said Vermont Right to Life. Scott has embraced without reservation the agenda of the powerful pro-abortion lobby. The Vermont governor has said previously, through a spokeswoman, that he would not veto the bill, leaving the possibility that he could allow it to become law without his signature. The Vermont legislature previously approved Proposal 5, which would enshrine personal reproductive liberty into the state constitution. The measure would have to be passed again by the 2020 state legislature and then approved by the voters on the 2022 ballot. Supporters of H57 argue that the bill was needed to protect abortion access against threats to Supreme Court 73 Roe versus Wade decision. President Trump has appointed 2 conservatives to the court, which states like Alabama approved bills specifically aimed at challenging Roe. Anyway, so the next story on that one, luckily, reload this. All right. This is from the Washington Examiner, another newspaper I subscribe to. It's from, actually, it's dated for June 12th, which is on the West Coast. We're not there yet, but on the East Coast, I guess you guys are. Well, actually, see, this is a story from June 7th, actually. Democratic abortion policy is deeply unpopular, as yet another poll confirms. So anyway, so this is saying that basically there's a poll out there, the polls out there that say the Democratic position on abortion is not necessarily popular. Yet another poll confirms that the Democratic Party is abandoning the American middle on the abortion issue. A new NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll finds that only 18% of Americans support third trimester abortion. Only 18%. The last 3 months of the pregnancy. Abortion. Very close to the 13% result from an earlier Gallup poll. A plurality of the country, nearly 3 in 10 Americans believe abortion should only be allowed in cases of rape, incest, and to save the mother's life, followed by 23% who support legal abortion up until the end of the first trimester of pregnancy, or about 13 weeks. The same share of Americans who support abortion up until the point of birth support making abortion illegal either without exception or only to save the life of the mother. In short, Alabama's much reviled abortion bill is just as popular nationwide as Democratic officials' abortion stance of choice. To be clear, not all Democratic officials have embraced the extreme on abortion. After all, it was Democratic governor who signed one of the nation's strictest abortion restrictions into law. But between the party's presidential contenders posturing and party's abandonment of pro-life Democrats, such as Representative Dan Lipinski of Illinois, the party leaders have made it clear that they're leaving the average American behind. Nearly every Democratic presidential candidate wants not only to repeal the Hyde Amendment, the provision from the use of federal funds to pay for abortion that nearly 6 in 10 Americans support, but also to pass laws such as the one in New York that effectively legalized abortion up until the point of birth. So basically, we got a fight on our hands on this abortion thing. It looks like the Democrats overreached on this one. And as far as like going for the late term abortions, the last 3 months, they left a lot of people out there hanging in the. Hey, Black and Irish, how you doing there? Good seeing you in the chat room. But it looks like we got a fight on our hands. But it looks like the majority of Americans are against these late-term abortions. So I think the Democrats would have played it safe and stayed with, keeping it kind of under the radar. The first trimester, the second trimester, which is still horrible, still killing a baby. They wouldn't have got the pushback, though, they're getting right now from even Democrats and independents right now. They definitely way overreached, but they figured, hey, why not? We'll do it. We'll get away with it. And hell with everybody else. And you got states like in Vermont, where the governor just signs the law saying it's unrestricted. New York, unrestricted. Virginia, unrestricted. Montana, the Democratic governor just vetoed a bill saying if the baby survives an abortion, the people in the room, the abortion place, clinic, have to seek medical attention for the child. Let's see, hold on. Don't seek medical attention. Let me get over to. There we go. I like the Washington Examiner, but even if you subscribe to me, you still get inundated with commercials while you're trying to read the article. So I don't know why they do that. I really wish they wouldn't. It's going to make me use them a lot less. But anyway, we'll just stick on this Washington Times article real quick here. But in fact, even let's just go ahead and just jump me out here. Boom. But yeah, so like I said, we got to fight our hands on this abortion thing. It looks like, see, Phil Scott goes to Elm Street for the sake of having a nightmare. There you go. But yeah. So again, it looks like we got a lot of. It looks like since the Democrats were stupid enough to overreach on the abortion thing, going for late term abortions last trimester, it looks like a lot of Americans are starting to wake up on this, realizing these people there's something wrong with them. I mean, they're willing to kill babies on the way to the hospital when the mom's on the way to the hospital to give birth. They're saying that's okay. So we got to fight it on our hands, that's for sure. And I covered the Biden-Trump thing. I think that's going to get only funnier. I don't think Biden's going to be able to go the distance. I think a lot of Democrats are. People say, how come these guys just don't drop out? Well, because they know the same thing the rest of us know. Biden is unhealthy. He's not doing good. He can't go. He can't do a lot of campaign events. They have to hold him back from doing a lot of campaign events. He gets exhausted. He gets kind of weird. He can't answer questions on the fly. You saw him every time you see him in that hallway, with a reporter. It goes badly. It just does. So, they're all figuring, hey, look, this is going to be a real strenuous campaign, and if he's not going to do, the ground type of, politicking, and going out to different campaign events, doing a lot of sites, press conferences, if they can just chip away at him little by little, they can knock him down to the point where he will have to go out and do a lot of events. He'll look exhausted more than he looks already. He looks exhausted right now. Every time I see him, he looks exhausted. So imagine if he's doing Trump's thing, 3 or 4 campaign events a day. He'd pass out. It'd be Hillary Clinton in New York City all over again, like on that 9/11 Memorial Day. Same thing. They'd be throwing him into a back of a van, okay, getting him hooked up to some IVs at somebody's house real quick. So I think the other Democrats are counting on that with Biden. I think Trump knows that about Biden, knows about his health issues, and I think he's laying it out there for the other Democratic candidates to start a nice little fight with him and to try to kick him off the stage, and that's only going to weaken their party. Like I said, Trump's playing a little 3D chess on this one, and it's fun to watch. It always is. But I tell you what, it's been on just for a little less than an hour. I just wanted to get this one out here tonight, kind of cover a couple of these stories. So I want to thank everybody who's been in the chat room, everybody who's been viewing us, and everybody who'll be viewing us later. So for Carl's opinion, this is Carl. I want everybody to have a great night, and we'll see you next time. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.